Hi guys, it's Bob from Greybeard Models. Welcome back to the channel. Sorry I've been away for a bit. Obviously, those of you who've been following the channel know I do like my cricket, and it's been the fifth test in the Ashes series against the Australians. It's been a brilliant game, so I've been glued to that pretty much most of the week. Not only that, I have my daughter and granddaughter down staying with me. My granddaughter is at Pineapple Studios and she's doing a dance course there, so they're actually staying here in London with me while that goes on. And my other daughter moved house. She's gone down to the south coast of England to a place called Weymouth, so we've been involved in that. And in the middle of all of that, if you've been following my Facebook, you'll know that last Saturday was my 70th birthday. 70, for crying out loud, gosh. Anyway, enough of that old waffle. We've had some progress with the figures and with the gun carriage and the limber, and also I got something that I bought, which I'm going to show you, which is this. This is a single-sided cutting mat, and it's plain. Yeah. Just put that down there. Yeah, looking at other people's channels, it looks like if you have a plain color, your autofocus and stuff on the camera will actually work better, and it won't get drawn to other things that it's sort of seeing in its scope. So I've got that, and that's hopefully helped with the shooting of the video. So without further ado, let's get over to the bench and we'll see how we've got on. So I just wanted to have a quick look at the figures. So I've given them a blast of, well, I gave them a coat of black primer and an overspray with a bit of white, very thin coat. Really, it's just one to see what the black white looked like, but also to go through and just make sure that I've picked up all of the sort of blemishes and seams and whatnot. And then I realised that this particular fella had epaulets on here, and the reference pictures that I've got, they didn't have epaulets, so they've been removed. So they're both all the figures are going to get another spray coat of primer before I start adding the paint. And again, this dude, they've all been given the a little bit of a stand to sit on. Hope it's not too uncomfortable for them, but again, it's just go over them and just check out the seams and things like that. And this particular individual, we had to redo the buttons here because they weren't very well molded. They'd actually sort of come out, and as you can see in there, there's a little bit more stuff to pick up on. So it's just really just to give them a coat. The other thing that I wanted to do while I had the figures here and my reference books was to sort of pick out the sort of uniform colours, and I've got three paints here. So I've got the Vallejo IDF blue, which funnily enough on the camera looks really blue, but in the naked eye it's actually quite a grey colour, so I'm not sure about that anyway. Again, this is the dark grey, and again it's got quite a blue hue to it. It is a little bit blue, but it's a sort of grey blue. And then I've got this one, which is a medium gunship grey, and this one on camera doesn't look so blue, and funnily enough on the naked eye it's not blue at all. It's quite a grey colour. So I'm just going through my paints just to sort of figure out what sort of colours I'm going to do, and we'll go on from there. So I'll be back to you in a minute, or a second even. So getting back to this figure that had the epaulets removed, one of the other things that I sort of looked at was the strap that he's got across his shoulder holding the water canteen, and I wasn't really happy with that because it was heavily moulded in here and around the front. So if I bring it in closer, just get that focal length right. So what I've done is actually taken away the joint here, because this was all moulded solid. So I've just basically carved all that away and then put a strip, evergreen strip there to replace the strap. And at the back I've done exactly the same. This was all solid, so what I've done is essentially carved off the strap that was there all the way down to the canteen and removed all of that, and that's essentially given me a bit of clear space under the strap there. So basically after taking that off, fold that and you know, re-sculpted the side there. So the strap is there, repositioned the strap around the canteen, and it's now more of a prominent strap, whereas before it was so shallowly moulded, I think is the word, that it really just didn't really do anything. So the next thing to do is now to come in and have a look at the front of his shirt and make sure that seam is there really quite more pronounced than it is, I think. And again, I've been round the figure again and just taken off some of the sort of seam lines and sharp edges that don't look right, and just re-sculpted it really. One of the other things that I want to do is on the front of the is this a kepi, isn't it? There should be like a strap across there, and it's not very well defined there, so I'll probably sand that out or file it out and then put a new strap in there, so that it's more of a pronounced strap, and then when I paint it I can make that a black strap, and that'll look far better than what it is at the moment. But the more I'm looking at these figures, the more I'm looking at re-sculpting. To be honest with you, I was really tempted to cut off the arms and redo the arms and slightly re-sculpt those to give me a bit more gap here, because I think that sort of scrunched up position of theirs, I don't know, maybe they're crapping themselves because they're on the limber, but yeah, I'm not overly convinced, but there's more work to do, and that's on this figure. So right, so that's where I've got with that figure. So we'll come back to that when it's finished, and I'm going to go on and do the other figures, because you know, if I look at this one, you see the strap on that compared to the re-sculpted strap on there, it's very, very thin. And I looked at some other pictures that I have, and it just looks like it could have been. It's a shame they didn't make these put more effort into these figures, but hey ho. But yeah, so I'm looking at potentially with this one doing the same again. So take this strap off here and re-sculpting the front of the shirt there, and then lay the strap on again. The other thing is, on one of my reference books, one of these guys had sort of like a pouch on the side. I don't know what that is. It might be the flints or other bits and pieces. Being an artilleryman, it might well be the flints or maybe a bit of fuse cord that they put into the hole at the, what do they call it, a flash hole, isn't it, in the cannon. So I don't know, I'm looking at this thinking that I might just add another pouch, because it could be round his shoulders and maybe poked around the back here, so where he's sort of got onto the limber and he's just tucked that pouch around the back of himself. I don't know, I'm looking at that, The other suggestion they make in the kit is to make up like a blanket. A lot of pictures I've seen of Confederate infantry and artillerymen and all the rest of it, they seem to have like a blanket that sort of, let's say, goes over their shoulder like that. So I'm thinking of maybe making that. I've got a piece of well, actually this is a dried out wet wipe, and it's about the right size, and I'm just messing around with it at the moment, looking at whether or not that would be a thing to do. You know, once all of this is all done, and then sort of put his sort of bedroll over his shoulders. I don't know. Anyway, that's where I am at the moment, so we'll move on and come back to you in a second. So in the meantime, while I've been working on the figures, the gun carriage, I've now got that pretty much completed with some weathering on it, just to give it some extra accents. I'll need to get a better shot of this once we're getting nearer completion and we can get it onto the diorama base. And in the meantime, there's the limber as well. Let's move the cannon out of the way. So the limber is now ready as well. That's had some further weathering on it, toning all the colours and drawing the colours together, and that's coming together well as well. So that's where we are with that. It's just figures and horses now, and then we're ready to go. I'll show you the material that I use, and I did mention before I'm using, you know, the Evergreen strip. This is I think this is 0.2 by 0.08, I think, that one. But I've got a whole bundle of them. So I've got 0.1 by 250, 0.1 by, well, I'll look at the I get confused myself. So I look at the sort of imperial measurements there. Metric 0.25 by 6.3, 0.1 by 0.156 imperial, 0.25 by 0.4, and 0.25 by 3.2 mil there. I've got an old packet here. This makes me laugh, because this is a packet I've had in stock for absolute ages. Any of you that are in the UK, if you look at the telephone number on there, look at the price of that, £1.50. This is ancient, this pack. There's another one that's £1.50. That's ancient as well. This is 0.5 by 0.2. 0.5 by 2 millimeters. This is 0.25 by 0.5 millimeters. This is a very narrow strip, very good for detailing. And then finally, I've got this. This is the 0.25 by 2, which I think is this spare strip that I've got. Yeah. So I've got a whole selection there, and I'm going to use these as the basis for the harnesses. And you know, if you haven't managed to pick up this sort of stuff, this evergreen strip, I'm sure, I mean, it's made in America anyway, so I would suggest, you know, get yourself a stock of it. It's not cheap nowadays. I think these were, well, they were £1.50 probably back in 1980s or something like that. These are now like £6, something like that. Crazy prices. But anyway, that's what I'm going to be using for doing the harnesses. That's probably, once I get all the figures ready for paint, which they nearly are now, get figures painted, and when we come back, hopefully they'll be at least in a good coat of primer, and maybe some top colour coats, and then we'll get onto the horses to start getting those finished and ready for harnesses. So if you've watched this far, thank you very, very much. I do appreciate it. I do appreciate all your comments, guys. Sorry it's been a while, but as I explained at the beginning, you know, life's taken over a bit. But I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy out there. I know there's one or two of my friends out there in YouTube world that aren't having a good time at the moment. You know who you guys are. But take it easy, be well, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.